Hey guys, how's it going? I'm about to unbox my first ever printer. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. Let's discover it together. Alright, so this is a big box. So this is the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro, I think is what it's called. There'll be some links below if you're interested in one. I believe you can just pretty much get it fairly easily at this point. And yeah, it's a resin printer. 2K, I believe. And that's a measurement of the screen. And it's a box within a box is what I got. Okay, so first things first, we got packing list enclosed. That's exciting. And we got paper. Now this one is loud. This one is from Amazon. So this is kind of probably how you'd get it if it was from... Oh my gosh, this is heavy. Wow. Okay, I was not expecting it to be this heavy. Oh, man. Oh, there we go. Oh, and move this to the side. Whew. All right. Now I also have some resin. This is the water washable resin. It just makes it a little bit easier to clean afterwards. Though Elegoo also makes something called a mercury, which will clean it for you by the looks of it. And definitely something I'll probably be interested in getting because I'm lazy and I'd like this to be as smooth of a process as it can be. So we got water washable. And then I went ahead and grabbed some ABS-like resin. That's still resin. If you don't know, the ABS and PVC, and that's what we normally get in miniature games. So when you get a miniature, it's normally PVC or ABS or a mix. This is resin, but it's a little bit more durable, supposedly. I'm going to try them both out. We'll find out together, I guess. This is interesting. So this is skin colored, and then this is the normal gray color. So it'd be easy to tell them apart too, which is kind of nice. All right, I'm going to set that well aside though, and let's go ahead and actually get into the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. All right, let's take a look. See what we got here. I have so many files. I've been preparing for this, and I have no idea, again, what I'm doing. I've watched some videos. I'm going to pretend to understand how to support something. You know, I downloaded Chidu Box and Leech. I don't know what the other one is. It's some fruit. Downloaded that one. That one seems nicer to me because you can edit the supports if you get pre-supported models, which is kind of nice. Very well packaged. This is like flush, which is nice. There's like this much lip. So there's zero give. Very thick too. Look at that. That is awesome. Good, because, you know, it has like this kind of, I don't know if it's, do not throw away the FEP film or FEP film. Okay, I won't. I'll pretend to know what that is. Because it's right on top. And then this is a user manual that I should probably read. Though, not right now. Right now we're just unboxing. Okay. So in here is the Mars 2 Pro. Alright, let's go ahead and take this out. This is a toolkit. Okay, so it looks like we have a thingy. I think that's the thing that lowers into the resin, the bed, or whatever you call that. The reservoir tray. Then we have something here, and then some masks and some gloves and a little squeegee scraper tool to scrape that off, and power cord, screws, measuring stick, a funnel to put the resin back in the bottle so you don't waste anything and filter out anything that may have partially hardened. Maybe some other manual and some tools. All right, and this is US. I imagine that's for the plugin. Here is the plug-in for it. Actually, it's not some huge brick or anything like that. It's actually kind of nice. A 3-prong on there. Probably 3-prong on the other side too. Let's see. Yes, it is. 3-prong on this as well. Okay. Put that to the side. Then we have this little scraper tool. It doesn't even like look clean. Like it looks dirty. Fresh from the factory, I imagine. Nice grip though. Like it's got the little thumb thing and all that. It is metal though, so I might go and get a softer one, like almost like one of those screen applicators, and maybe that'll work. I don't know. I'll have to ask around. You know, anything I see that's wrong, please comment below and let me know what's going on, because I don't know what's going on, and I don't want to ruin anything. A very long Allen wrench, and then a very thick Allen wrench, and some various screws and whatnot. Then we have, is this USB? It is. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so what you do is you put the slice or the SLC files on here, and then plug this into the printer, and then that's what gets it. My only thing I saw is that there might be a folder length thing, so just make sure that it's not some very long path, and you should be able to, your printer should see it right away. Okay, then we got some gloves. I was not expecting this color glove. I was expecting blue, but that works too. And then a little pour spout. Is there a measure on this? And it's a measuring thing, so that's nice as well. Okay, we have whatever this is. I literally don't know what this is at all, but it says Elegoo on it, so that's cool. Very nice. I mean, it's nice and thick. I don't know what I'm looking at. Okay, these are the filters. It's kind of like a paper filter, and then it has a very fine mesh right here. I imagine you could probably buy more, because obviously you're going to use these up, but there's quite a bit. Like, this is not bad at all. Actually impressed. I figured there'd be like 3. They got a mask, I think 2 masks. That's actually kind of nice. Oh, shoot, you need these all the time nowadays. I didn't know if it came with masks or not. I've seen people use masks, I've seen people not. I mentioned it kind of depends. My understanding is while it's printing, it has an air filter on it, which is super nice. Elegoo My Mini Factory, a 10% off code. That is super nice. So there's a little code here on a nice little kind of plastic. Is this 3D printed? That'd be hilarious. It's not. At least I don't think it is. I don't know. No, that's super smooth. Very nice. So that's cool. That's very nice of them to do. A lot of the Kickstarters will use My Mini Factory to give you your stuff. Okay, here is a softer, less harsh squeegee. This is nice. I'm glad they include this. Is kind of what I was thinking of, a more plastic one. I've even seen some that's almost like a silicone tip on it too. Micro shears. This is cool as well. So this is a little snipper tool. You can, careful, a lot of times they come with caps. This one does not. But this is to help kind of take off the posts, or the supports. From what I've seen, you can just kind of, before it's fully cured, like when you first take it out, you can, with some gloves, actually just pretty much grab them off. And then there's some little pesky ones. You want to do that if you can before it's fully cured, so that it doesn't fully cure that little nub. And rubber band, a gigantic rubber band. This is like a fan belt on a car. I don't know exactly what this is for. It's probably an air sealant of some kind, maybe on the glass. We'll see. I don't know. And that is it for that box. Wow. Okay, a lot of stuff. Got a pile over here already. All right, next up we have a ton more supports. I mean, this is like packaged well, which I'm happy to see. Okay, so I was gonna say because of the price, but looking at the price, it was way cheaper than I thought it was. When I had first looked at 3D printers, I saw like the Form 2 and stuff like that, and it was expensive. This is not the case at all. I was very impressed with how cheap this has gotten. I'd kind of written it off, and my patrons will know that, but this is not bad at all. Okay, oh my gosh, it's still heavy though. So I'm gonna lift it this way and see if I can't take the wrapping off while it's on this cushioned area. Looks like it's tied on the bottom. It is, with a little twisty tie. I can tell you right now, this is super exciting. The weight of it is actually kind of nice because, you know, you're always concerned stuff's like cheap or, you know, whatever. But weight really makes it feel substantial. It means that there's actual like metal and stuff like that, which I really like to see. This does not look cheap at all. So I'm excited to get this open. Okay. All right. Oh, that is cool. Okay, I'll have to show you that. That's cool. So there's some metal that they have that's kind of like brushed, but it looks red, which just kind of fits the theme super well. And it's called the Mars, and I don't know if anybody else noticed this, and I did, but Mars and red, it kind of goes hand in hand. Now we have some saran wrap, like stuff. Oh my gosh. Come on. Let me have it. Getting close. Getting close here. Let's go ahead. Whoops. And actually get this open. This is going to rip a little bit here. There's most of it. So, you'll see right here, you have this kind of like shiny red metal, which I think is super nice. And in fact, even this metal here, right here, also red, which again is super cool. All right. Looks like I have a little bit, but I think I can just pop this. Aha, this slide's nice. If I'm not mistaken, this is a UV protector so that it doesn't cure it unless where you want it to. It's probably like 99.9%. And again, they feel the inside of it. If you've ever like bought a computer, they'll a lot of times put foam or some kind of expanding thing just to keep everything tight. It's a very common thing for anything kind of expensive and delicate. And so it's nice to see that that's done here. And I don't know if this is sections or looks like there's maybe 2 sections here. I don't know if I should pull out. I think probably out. Okay. So now we can kind of see. I think this is loose. This is the actual tray that dips down in there and you gotta scrape it off. This is perhaps smaller than I thought it would be based off of what I had seen in the digital files, but if you think about it, like for a miniature, this is still quite big. Okay, so it has a protective thing. I'm gonna lay it down this way for now. Again, you guys are probably like screaming at me. Please don't use all caps when you when you comment about how wrong I'm doing everything. All right, there's a little bit of seems almost like glue or something like that, kind of in different spots. Some kind of gunk of some kind. But overall, it's quite clean, as you can see. There's the tray. This is that filtration that I was talking about, which is kind of nice. Now, I think this can screw off. Not that this isn't serious. Okay, how long do I already don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Tell you what. I don't want to do anything more without really ruining it, so I'm going to go ahead, read that booklet. I'm going to sit down here, and we're going to do this together. You know what I forgot? The resin. Let's go ahead and open this up just so we can take a quick look at it so that when I'm reading... I like to look at all the components before I read anything, so I went through all that, because then I kind of have some context. Which is kind of nice. So this is a water washable. We'll start with that. It's a skin colored 500 G, probably grams. They come in a 500 and 1,000. I went ahead and bought 500 of this as well because I wanted to try some different things and see what I like and what the uses are for them. Well packaged, so the cardboard's nice, and then it has this kind of chambered little piece here. It also comes with a little tiny brush, not to paint miniatures with, that's for sure. I don't know exactly what that's for. Maybe just to clean up a little bit or to scoop it in. So the tray, I know, has a little pour spout right there. You can kind of see it. There you go. So you can pour it back in. I'll see it's a little loose. I'm gonna break something. I need to stop touching stuff. But if we take a look at this, and it's all connected here, very, very cool how that's actually quite nice. Like purpose made, really. We have water washable, polymer resin. Very nice, very thick plastic. I'll tell you, everything here seems nice, and that's kind of just nice to see. You can hear it in there. Completely, the reason it's not clear is, again, you don't want any UV in. And it says skin on it, so you know what it is. The water washable kind, so you don't get them mixed up or anything like that. Shake well before use, so you're going to have to give it a good shake anyway. Very cool. All right, now I'm going to read and figure this out. All right, guys, welcome to this part of the video. This is going to be kind of my first impressions and also kind of a review that I have so far on the Mars 2 Pro by Elegoo. This has been in my possession for a couple weeks now. I've printed a bunch of stuff. Not all of it worked, but that's mostly on me, not the printer. We're going to talk about that a little bit and then end up on some follow-up videos that are going to come your way as I get more time with this and just kind of talking through this new hobby, really. So first, let's talk about the Elegoo Mars Pro 2. Now, this is our Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. It's a funny name. Anyway, this is quite the machine. I was actually really impressed. So not having 3D printed anything, not having ever touched or even seen a 3D printer in real life, all I knew is that it seemed to be a hobby to me. And part of that is because there's so much I don't know. Like, they give me this thing and it says, do not throw away FEP. I didn't know what FEP was. And you know, I didn't know the purpose of these even really. And there's a whole lot of stuff I just kind of had to learn and understand and kind of look up or ask questions and all that. But this machine did great. Also, there's some videos that Elegoo has put out that are great. There's some videos for like Leish that are also good. There's a lot of really good content on YouTube, obviously, that helped a lot. For the printer itself, I was really impressed by, I guess, its consistency and really the quality I was amazed by. So they gave me some water washable resin, and it kind of looks like this, right? This is a version of her over there that I also printed, and it's exquisite detail. It's fantastic. The water washable is kind of interesting just because you can wash it with water, which is cool. It washes right off. But then what do you do with the water, right? And so I actually ended up finding out that they have some ABS resin, or ABS-like resin. It's still resin, but it's like ABS. It doesn't break as easily. It's a little bit more durable. It definitely fits my purposes as wanting to make miniatures a lot better. And I have 4 children, and, you know, they break things anyway. And so I've just found it to be kind of nice to work with. So that's what I've been using since then. You can see here I have Batman, and I have kind of another bust over here that I printed. And really, one of the things I was really impressed with is how much space there actually is. It doesn't look like a lot for the actual build plate, but there's actually quite a bit on here. Like I printed like essentially 2 whole miniatures that are quite large. The multi-piece, the head, the torso, the legs, both arms, the hands, a weapon or something like that. Quite a bit, actually, really, really impressive. In fact, it gets so big. I actually have this right here. This I printed in here, and I still had room to spare in the Z-axis. So this is just about as high as it goes, and it can go all the way down into the vat if you needed to, right? And so it can go to about here, which is really, really impressive. So this whole thing fit in there actually pretty handedly. I had to slice it right here. Here's the other piece there, just because it was a little too wide, and only because I didn't want to print it, you know, with a lot of suction just straight down. So I had it at an angle, which obviously takes up a bit more space. But seriously, this is impressive. One thing you will notice on this, and one of the things that's missing from this, but they do offer a solution, is if you'll see, there's a lot of like chalky white resin stuff. This is in between mean green and alcohol, and this is about as good as I got it with a toothbrush. And so really they offer the mercury cure and wash resin kind of thing that washes it and cleans it and cures it all in one, and definitely something I'm going to be looking into getting. And so I'll review that here soon, because it just smooths the whole process, because part of it's leveling it, and part of it's, you know, actually just printing things, and then the other really half of it is caring for it afterwards. And sometimes it can be really difficult. So for instance, I have a piece here. This is from Poison Ivy, from the thing I'm printing, and the amount of detail, I'm going to show a picture of this so you can see this properly, on these spikes is incredible. It's incredible how much detail it can get. It's also very hard to clean with a toothbrush or something like that, right? You definitely need something that's just swishing it without it rattling around in a Tupperware or anything like that, or even a toothbrush to it. So this is my, you know, attempt at cleaning, and I did as well as I could, but the detail level on this is incredible. When I saw that it was 2K, I was like, well, you know, how detailed can that be? All of this, by the way, was printed at 0.03 millimeters. It can go to 0.01 millimeters. If you really wanted to. I imagine it helps if you're printing something incredibly small. But again, like, these spikes are really tiny. They come to a perfect point. It's actually incredible. So this thing is so good, and it's rugged too. Well, like, I am not, I'm not the cleanest, most perfectionist person. I try to be. I like to be. I want to be, but I'm not. And so my screen has some smudges on it, the LCD under the vat. So there's a screen underneath the vat, and then there's the vat, and then the FEP film is on the bottom of that, and it's like tensioned. It's like essentially like a Teflon nonstick kind of thing, but it's made out of a certain kind of plastic. And then the build plate, it's supposed to stick on the build plate and kind of pop off of the FEP. In fact, sometimes you can even hear it pop a little bit depending on how level everything is. And I know my FEP has scratches on it and dings in it and all sorts of. I've replaced it already once. Don't ask why, it was a disaster. But anyway, My point is that this thing just keeps on working and keeps on trucking. I've been incredibly impressed with how well it is. Additionally, one of the big concerns that my wife particularly had was I'm dealing with resin. Resin is not good for your body. But what they have is they have here a little kind of intake air, and then they have a charcoal filter in there, and then it comes out filtered. Now, the smell, any smell you get is dependent on the resin itself, more or less. This gets rid of the majority of it regardless, but there can be a little bit. For instance, I found the ABS resin from Elegoo to be a little almost sweet smelling, but not exactly in a like pleasing baked cookies kind of way. But again, not really terrible. Typically only if you're like at the 3D printer and you're doing something with it. It has this little kind of ring here that you can see that kind of pops up on it to also just kind of help keep it contained and the smell is as good as possible. The water washable had a little bit more of a pungent smell, not sweet at all. So the smell can kind of range, but regardless, the significance of it wasn't that bad actually. And the fact that it's filtered means it's actually not like really bad. I mean, I wouldn't go around still like sniffing it, but it's definitely nice to know that I'm not like actively like poisoning myself because I'm near this thing. It's actually kind of nice that that's included. Okay, so what else? Actually, let's talk about this ring a little bit. So one of the few negatives I have on this is when I go to lift this up, do you see how it's like, it's going to break my mini here, take his arm off. So he's just kind of pieced together. I'll explain that in a little bit. But if you see, if I actually move him out of the way, when you pop it, you see how it's kind of already come off a little bit? So this happens all the time. And the reason that happens, let me go and take this off, is because it's hitting kind of right here and it's very like sealed there. And then of course it kind of just wants to suction in there. That's fine, but this issue happens a couple times with me. It didn't happen at first, but over time it started to happen. So this is kind of a bummer. Now, I could probably glue this in. In fact, I think I probably will, but I wanted to show you how it is without any modifications so that, you know, you guys saw kind of what it is. That being said, this definitely does work. Like the moment I lift it up, I can kind of smell it a little bit, but we'll seal it back up and we'll be okay. Okay, hold on. There we are. And again, it just slides right in, which is nice. I'm just being weird about it. All right, so let's put that back on. And literally zero smell now. There's like none. When it's on, the fan is going. Now, that is actually another small issue that I have. The fan running is great. It's great that it's filtering. If it's on at all, the fan's going. For instance, I wanted it on. I didn't want it printing anything, but I wanted to kind of show you the screen and anything. However, this fan would kick on right away, and I want my audio to be a little bit nicer. So it doesn't turn off after a job's done. So when it's just sitting there and all the things just kind of dripping the resin back in, and it's just waiting for you to kind of mess with it, the fan's going either way. And I wish it did turn off right afterwards. But I mean, I'm still glad it has the fan. So that's, you know, I guess neither here nor there. The build plate's actually quite nice and easy to adjust. You unscrew this top here and it slides right off. The build plate itself has just two tightening things with an Allen wrench. What you do is you stick like a piece of paper there and you just click go to home, and it goes to home. You try to tug it, you adjust it by like 0.1 millimeters. And then of course you tighten it, and then you click set Z axis, and that resets the home. You do that every now and then if you happen to really be rough with this, but in general it keeps its setting quite well. I did like 5 prints without adjusting it, no problem, and then I kind of manhandled it, where the key is not to touch both ends and kind of mess with it too much. But either way, the build plate also very rough. It's just this really good metal. You can scrape on it, not too bad at all. In fact, it helps with adhesion a little bit, so not too concerned with that. The vat is quite nice. I wish it was larger though. So there is a little space right here that's doing nothing, right? There's no fan. The fan's over here. It's just a kind of a blank area here. And it'd be nice almost if there was like a resin, just an additional resin or something like that, because actually, and you will see that, you know, just even right here. So here's a base to Batman. And, if you notice, there's a resin swap here. So I put this in, I went to sleep, woke up the next day, and I saw it had almost no resin left and it was still printing. So I'm like, oh crap, like that's no good. This is hollow, by the way. I didn't have it full. Anyway, So I quickly just poured whatever resin was quickly there. Happened to be the water washable resin. It worked fine, by the way, actually. So that's not too bad. You can totally do that. You can custom mix it, I guess, if you want. I had to clean it without, the water washable part of it, obviously. But, and in fact, you saw a little bit on his legs as well. But it worked. It was fine. But I do wish that, maybe the vat somehow held more resin. It'd just be nice. Essentially, you have all this space, but depending on what you're printing, you might run out of it. So like when I printed this one, I actively poured extra in there kind of during the print as it printed it. It just so it had enough, because it would have run out, right? This is a lot of resin, even with the infill. And so putting it even to max, sometimes the build area that you're afforded isn't necessarily how much the vat can hold of resin. It depends on what you're making though. If you did something big and tall and skinny, then it would do it just fine, and it's capable of that. It's just I was printing these kind of big, bulky stuff. But either way, it's still fine. It's just one thing to note, like when you get this, like just because it has this much space, if you fill all of it up, that vat might not be enough, and you'll have to pour some in. And you can pour some in mid-job. That's no problem at all. Just don't hit the build plate or something like that. Okay, let's see what else. One thing I would like it to be able to do, and I don't even know how to solve this, but I'm no engineer, at least not a mechanical one, is when you set the Z-axis and it goes all the way down and you get that Z-axis just fine. An issue I came across is the alignment on the screen. So this build plate could turn any which way, right? It's not locked, straight like this. So it could turn this way or this way. And if the screen is like this and it's tilted this way, well, now there's a little corner here that's not actually on the screen. In other words, it doesn't match it quite well. Now I tried to eyeball it as good as I could, and I'd get the paper and fold it up and try to line it up with kind of the screen as best as I could, but it is kind of a difficult thing to set. And so I would come across issues, like, let me find one, like this guy, and I don't know if you can see it perfectly well, but you see how it's flat right there? It's flat right there because he was like this, and my build plate didn't line up with the screen. And so you got that little kind of flat part right here where just obviously the screen ended, right? It couldn't do it again. I had the same issue when I first printed her. By the way, look at that. That detail is incredible. Again, 0.03 millimeters. I could go even higher than that. Really, really good. Cut off right there. You can hopefully maybe kind of see the light color isn't super great, but either way, perfectly smooth there. Or that. Obviously, the overhang was a little bit farther. It looked fine on any of the programs I used, whether it was ChuChuBox or anything like that, because the print area works. It's just I didn't have the print bed aligned perfectly on the kind of the X-plane, right? So it was a little slanted, and that little bit of slant, if you put something towards the edge in the software and it's not like that, it'll just cut it off. So that was kind of one issue I kind of came across. Another kind of issue I guess I had was just general knowledge and settings and stuff like that, right? This thing can do a whole lot. It has a pause feature. I didn't know it had a pause feature. So what you can do, because one of the bummers is, especially me learning, is, with SLA printing anyway, you're dipping it in a vat and you can't see it until it's outside of the vat. And sometimes that's 50% of the job, right? So you have to wait and print a whole bunch. And if it messed up on layer 2, you're not going to know. Right? Well, there's actually a pause job button so you can do. And what it'll do is it pauses a job and it lifts all the way up just like this, and you can see it. And then you can click resume and it goes back and starts right where it left off, which is great because you can kind of pause, check, see how it is, and then it goes down. That was seriously awesome. I didn't even know it did that. I don't recall a pamphlet that told me all the options that this thing did. I just kind of noticed. I was like, wow. It also has a clean vat option. I didn't know what that was either. I had to ask about it. But what it is essentially, it just lights up the whole screen and cures just a bottom few layers, right, of resin that you can then pop off and peel off, and it's the whole bottom of the FEP. So that if there are any little bits on there, for instance, I've had some failed prints that I was trying to print the plugs for something like this, so you have holes and you can have the plugs, which never work anyway, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I was trying to do that and it would fail, and so it would just have a tiny little couple 0.0 millimeters of resin cured in a little spot that's on the FEP, and it doesn't pop off and you're trying to scrape it off and not damage the FEP and anything like that. A clean vat option like that, it'll just do the whole thing. You pop it off, no problem. awesome setting. That kind of stuff I was actually really, really impressed with. Hugely beneficial for a noob like me. Hugely beneficial, I think, for anybody. It's just general use. I think it's great just to be able to check on it. Now, speaking of checking on it, there are a few gaps that I would hope that the future version would have. I'm not against not having it here. But the chip shouldn't cost too much, and push notifications should either. It doesn't have Wi-Fi, and so you upload everything through a USB. You can't like send files to it or anything like that. It also means it doesn't tell you when it's done. So when it's, you know, finished your job, it's just sitting there, fans still blowing, right? And you're none the wiser. I had to go buy a cheap kind of webcam kind of thing to look on it, and then it works with like my smart displays, so I can just ask what its progress or check on it or something like that. But it'd be nice if, I'm not asking for necessarily a webcam, like live feed of it, though that'd be nice too. But it would be nice to have it be able to send a notification, you know, saying, hey, I'm finished. So you don't have to like time or whatever. That being said, it does show the time. It shows the estimated time. It'll show the layer that it's printing. It kind of do all that. For instance, let's say you're printing a whole bunch of stuff and you know that, you know, oh, by golly, I messed up on this one, you know, well, shucks, but the other stuff's printing fine. Maybe it's like an arm or a leg or something like that. You can see exactly what layer it's at and what that layer is doing. So you know, like, oh, that arm is done printing. I can go in and cancel it because I don't need the rest of this. Right? And then it'll stop and it'll raise up and you can get your broken one, and then the hand that's perfectly fine. I actually did that a few times. And so that's also kind of nice just to be able to see that. Let's see. One of the things I learned is the scale. So again, I've shown you this, right? Like this is one of 30 pieces. Now they're not all this large, but by the time I saw this, I had already printed Batman. Right? And I printed his base and I was like, I mean, it's kind of big, but it's not like terrible, right? And then I printed, you know, part of Harley Quinn here. And, I guess I didn't really get how this thing was going to be huge, right? Massive. And so then I printed this and I was like, holy crap. Like, this is way too big. It was hard for me even to imagine it in here and then to see it in the software, I guess. Maybe I just got carried away, but I didn't realize how big some stuff is, especially these STL files that you use. Some of them are just massive because they want to be able to support something really big, and you can always shrink it. I've now shrinked it 50%, so it's cut in half, and hopefully that's good enough. But again, it's kind of hard with these multi-pieces to kind of get a sense of what it is. So that's really the Elegoo Mars Pro 2 that I have, the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. And, I've been so impressed. Like, this is super, super nice. This is great. The amount of just wonderful quality on this is really, really incredible. Been super impressed with it. Just absolutely astounded. I love this ABS-like stuff. I had no idea getting into it. You know, one of the problems with the resin, especially as miniature painters and miniature board game players and whatnot, is resin sucks to work with sometimes. It's brittle. You know, you have all these like really, really fine detail. I would never want to use this in regular resin, but the fact that they have this ABS that it actually makes it slightly bendy and give it just that little bit of extra support and kind of resiliency to being handled is quite nice. It's wonderful. I'm smitten. For somebody who didn't take the dive and now finally has been kind of forced to take the dive and has done it, I'm never going back. It's incredible. Yes, yeah, I fail prints, and you know, it's a learning process, especially when you're self-supporting, when you're adding supports yourself. But there's so many sources online. There's so many videos, whether it's from Elegoo themselves or other companies, to kind of teach you about it. That's wonderful. There's a lot of helpful communities. That's great. They have products that are a little bit more beginner friendly when it comes to being manhandled and broken and stuff like that. It's been great. It's never done any. In fact, okay, so here's how resilient this thing is. I've put this through its paces. This is a great story. I was in a rush. It was Halloween, and I needed to help kind of do the face painting and stuff like that. And so I was like, I'm just going to throw something on the printer and just let it print while I go trick-or-treating. I'll come back, and then that night it'll be done. So I threw the vat in there. I poured some resin in there, and I set it to go. and I didn't screw it in. So there's these, you know, these little screws on the side that just, and it's not actually screwing into a hole, it's just pressure, right? So it's pushing down on that. Well, I forgot to do that, which means it could lift up and down. Now, as I kind of said, the build plate goes down, and then the FEP kind of, it wants to stick, but the FEP is meant to not be sticky, so it kind of pops off a little bit, right? Well, because there was almost no resistance, what it was doing, and I was printing a big resin piece, kind of like this, not as big. I put it in there, and it would pop up a little bit every time it raised, because what it does is you have like the slow raise, and then you have that, and that big raise is what would do it. And it had actually popped up to where this vat was actually on the lip. It's nice and secure in this little lip here, so it's perfectly lined up. At least the vat is. And it was actually at an angle, and it was still printing. Now, the print was obviously jacked up a little bit from that. I wasn't able to use the piece, but the fact that nothing broke, it didn't ruin anything. It still works just fine. You know, like I just printed, look, this is the skill mat now. Just printed these guys, afterwards. And I mean, this came from afterwards. So it was nice that I messed up a lot, and I still didn't damage the darn thing. It still works just fine. Is awesome. I was really impressed with that. I've heard of people complaining about the screen scratches, but I don't know exactly how you'd scratch a screen. Just use a cloth and some Windex. I mean, it's not like you're really touching it ever. The vat kind of sits around the edge of it, I suppose, but for the most part, you're not really messing with it. So mine's like a little maybe cloudy, perhaps, but prints just fine. I haven't seen any issues, so I'm not concerned about that. Not with after all the stuff I've done with this. So I've thrown on a lot. I guess what I'm saying is that between this and getting the Mercury, the barrier of entry is incredibly low. I've been super impressed with that. This thing is like $280. Like, there'll be a link down below to the product. You can kind of go there. Elegoo was great, by the way. They didn't have any kind of like, you have to say this or you have to cover this or do it. In fact, they were incredibly hands off. They're like, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, just do your thing. So, there's nothing saying I couldn't have bombed this if I didn't like it or anything like that, which was quite nice. I wouldn't have accepted it otherwise. No money changed hands. They just sent it so I could try it, and forced me to dive headfirst into this hobby and try and print ridiculously large, complex things and self-support it. But they were wonderful to work with. I was actually really impressed that they didn't have any kind of stipulations or anything like that. So there's a link that they're not requiring down below, that I'm putting there. Again, super cheap, actually, less than $300 with free shipping through Amazon. You can have a fantastic 3D printer that can print like amazing looking stuff. Like, that is awesome. It's incredible. Here's, by the way, in case you wanted to see what a 32 millimeter, you know, kind of normal miniature looks like. There's a witch, for you there. So, anyway, and it does bases just fine. It's really impressed. I've had a blast with it. I've spent a ton of time with it, and I will continue to obsess over it because it's incredible. And like I said, there's no going back. Like, I was painting a miniature of Oko where I was painting the planks. I have a base that has wooden planks in there. I can 3D print it and rebase it, and then it'll look incredible. I'm now actively going to have a custom version of the Oko Chronicles miniatures with an incredible base. And I can do that no problem. I can make 50 million of them. It's fine. So it's really, really cool. I've loved it. Highly recommended. Hugely. If I can do it, anybody can, trust me. So that's all I had. I will have some more videos about this. I'll have a long-term review, up, and where I know more about what I'm talking about, maybe a little bit. I'll have some, kind of a top 10 Patreon list for STL files, perhaps even a mini factory thing, some free stuff on Thingiverse or something like that. I'll be covering, those Patreons, Kickstarters. There's, some 3D printable Kickstarters I'll be covering more and more of. And, it's just, I like it. I don't know what else to say. All right, that's it. That's the Elegoo Mars 2 Pro. I always say that backwards. And I will talk to you guys again really soon for some more Kickstarter news.